Hello, everyone. My name is Sophia Slesser. I'm a senior at Medfield High School. And on behalf of everyone behind me, I just want to say thank you all so much for coming today. We're going to have a couple of speeches, and then we have face paint and rock painting. And we just want you guys to be able to enjoy the space we've created. We are all so proud of all the work we've put in, and we are so happy you're all here to join us today. So I'll pass it off to Chloe.
Okay, I'm just going to start with a little history of this space. So Medfield State Hospital opened its doors in 1896. It started as a place to keep patients from overwhelmed mental hospitals in the surrounding towns. In the beginning years, the people were referred to inmates rather than patients. Over time, the hospital transitioned into a recovery center instead of just a holding place. Thousands of patients and staff lived and died in these buildings during its peak, and often the population in this hospital was higher than the population of Medfield. Building 12 over there was for the more passive male patients, and Building 14 was for the more passive female patients. And then behind me, Building 13 was built in 1904, and it was built as an overflow ward for female patients. During the 1918 influenza epidemic, the hospital was forced to make its own cemetery due to all the deaths. Now, over a century later, we come together to honor this space during our own pandemic. There were also many tragedies and mistreatment of patients due to the lack of knowledge on mental health. These benches here are the same ones many people had to sit on during their most difficult times. We hope our repurposing of these benches gives people a space to be themselves.
My name's Tay Frankel. I'm going to talk about the present and what we've been doing with the space. So, from a medical facility to an abandoned campus to a community gathering space, the hospital here has come a long way. The place we're gathered at today serves as an embodiment of what mental health care once looked like. We used to treat those suffering from mental illnesses as outsiders and shut them out from the rest of society. Take a look around you right now. How many fences, gates, and boarded up windows do you see? The patients at this hospital didn't stay here because they wanted to get better. They stayed here because they had no other choice. Today, we see mental health as a common focus in our lives, and something that we shouldn't feel is a foreign topic. Instead of avoiding and pushing away the all-too-important issue we have on our hands, we have made great steps towards giving people the resources they need to heal. We still have large steps to make in our battle with mental health, but let this place be a source of hope for how far we've come.
My name is Leah Delamonica, and I'm going to be talking about the process of creating this space. Looking at what's in front of you now, it may come as a shock that from the beginning we had no concrete plan, only a readiness to come together and a will to make a change. The conversation started with us all talking over Zoom in March, where we asked ourselves the question, what issues need to be addressed in Medfield? And with that as our base, we touched on several other issues. Social pressure, substance abuse, mental health, and racial injustice were all topics we discussed. But our discussions funneled into mental health, so we made that the focal point of our project. I feel that our vision for this project was always creative, and there was always an intention to make art. So with Medfield State Hospital acting as a perfect space for a message, both historically and locationally, there was no question as to where we should start.
Hi, I'm Ava Blake, and I'm going to be going into a bit more detail about our process. Everyone here has poured so much time and heart into this art piece. Each mosaic you see here was designed and made by hand, and the benches were relocated, cleaned, and fitted with the new planks over hours of work. None of us here are experts at using cement, glass tiles, or wood. We are simply students passionate about art in our community. Our work began with first learning the basics of cutting tiles of glass and assembling them together. We took the time to pick out pieces of glass, shape them to our liking, attach each tiny part to the plank, and then reshape them if they did not fit perfectly. Learning and mastering the process was certainly not easy, but we put delicate thought and hard work into every mosaic. Carving the words such as resilient and confident, and then using grout to put it all together was also not a piece of cake. Our work was not done there, however. We then had to fit the benches with the new planks, sand them, and move them to this location. We faced challenges left and right, especially without a concrete plan for this project. Yet together, we overcame those setbacks, and because of our passion and drive, the benches you see before you today are a lasting representation of our vision.
My name's Rachel Perry, and I'm going to be talking about the purpose behind this space. Fueled by our conversations and hard work, we can say that all of us are proud with what we have accomplished. We all came into this project with no endpoint in mind and have together grown, learned, and become genuine friends. From this, we have learned not only about each other and our community, but reflected inward on ourselves. In this entire process of tough conversations via Zoom and physical labor creating this space, the hardest part might be putting into words how much this all means to all of us.
It represents our voices, our experiences, our values, and ultimately the change we want to see in Medfield going forward. We want this to be a space where everyone can feel valued, accepted, and loved. The State Hospital represents a place for all people to gather, show respect and acceptance towards each other. And growing up in Medfield, we've all faced our struggles with mental health, fitting in, and finding your identity. Like the mosaics, this project helped us all find pieces of ourselves. Through hard work, dedication, blood, sweat, and happy tears, we are so proud of ourselves and know it doesn't have to end here. Thank you. And now I'm passing the microphone over to Michael from Spoke.
Hi everyone. Thank you to my support, my foundation. These guys, you know, I just have to. These guys are just amazing. You know, I had a whole speech prepared, right? And this is a very difficult. All of these speeches could follow, right? Because the way that each one of these young people articulated this project is beyond any words that I have. Right? One of the things that is the most interesting about these benches, and I think that young people alluded to it, was that the women who were in this house and this house behind us sat here in this yard, but they couldn't really gather. The benches were scattered, right? And they were here for whatever reasons, right? They were here because they didn't have the supports in their lives around mental health, right? And we didn't know what to do with mental illness. So when we came out to Medfield, and I think we had a grant to work on substance abuse, the young people said, no, we need to talk about mental health. And one of the things that struck me the most was we need to have the conversations with our parents, with our grandparents, with intergenerational population of Medfield. That we know something that they don't. We know something that they need to hear. Right? They may think they know what's best for us. They may want what they think is best for us. But we have a story that hasn't been told. Our story. Each of us. My own story. And the topic that came up was the stress that this generation of young people feel in a world today that is so uncertain. And the pressures of education, school, having a career, when we don't know where we'll be with addiction, climate, all the changes that are happening in the world. So they had the courage to have these conversations, and I feel like I was in some ways privy to the ears of God to listen in to these young people talking so powerfully, so beautifully, really testifying the truth. Right? And so the power of these benches is that, you know, for maybe 100 years, women sat on these benches. They all had a story too, an untold story. And perhaps if their stories had been told, places like this wouldn't exist. And we'd have a world where we had more equitable support for those who need it. These are our leaders. Right? These are our leaders. This is our future. You know, we discovered when we were trying to scrape these benches down, Richie, right here with the Spider-Man hat, Our right-hand person, right, at Spoke and in Medfield, everywhere he goes, he's the right-hand man, discovered that this wood was really hard. And I said, oh, this wood is purple hard. It's the name of the wood. It's a rainforest wood. And we started to plane it down. It was all covered in lichen and rust, and it had been painted white at one point. And it revealed its beauty, its jewel-like beauty, like the mosaics. You know, there's an Indian expression from India, the bodhicitta, the part of the heart that is undamaged, and if it's brought out into the light, it's jewel-like and gem-like. These young people are jewels and gems, right? And their invitation to the town of Medfield and beyond is to show your heart. They all deserve Purple Hearts for the work they've done here. And we started off this project. Each of us came up with a word on how we felt. And mine was, I'm in awe. And I remain in awe and want to remain there. So one of the other great privileges was to get to work with Jean Minio and Mary Haas. Jean is from the Cultural Alliance of Medfield, and Mary is from Medfield Outreach. Medfield cares about prevention. And I'm supposed to pass this mic to each of them. But Jean Minio was the great facilitator around bringing me and Mary together and the youth. And I want to thank her for that. And I think it's Mary that speaks next? No, it's Jean. So with that, I want to introduce Jean Minio.
I'm in the unenviable position of following Michael Dowling. I just want to start by acknowledging the kids, and I shouldn't even call you kids. Like, you guys were the leaders here, and we were your peers, and I just wanted to do justice to that relationship. And I think I can speak for everybody here, and I say how just totally blown away we are by what we were able to accomplish, and the seriousness with which you engaged on some really tough topics, and the honesty and the courage you brought to the conversations and to participating and showing up. I hope that you feel proud of what your vision produced here, and I hope that you will honor this process of exploring and experimenting and working through some really unknown situations, because you're going to have some tough challenges in the years ahead, and I hope you can draw from what you've learned here. You know, artists are change makers, but you guys are also change makers. And you have converted a place that has a history of excluding people from society, and you created a gathering place and a place of inclusion, and you have changed this property in the process. I wanted to also acknowledge Michael and Spoke. I'm sure that this project was far more than you had imagined taking on, but you never wavered and you never gave up on us. And Michael, you are one of those rare human beings who lead by letting other people shine. And I personally was humbled by the stories you shared and the vulnerability that you shared with us. And your stories allowed us to feel safe and to feel held and to feel seen. And it's been a real pleasure to get to know Ed recently. He's at this table. And Richie, you guys, your humor really helped push us through some really physically demanding work. And Richie, I think of you as almost this sort of silent glue that just really held us all together. And I want to thank you for sharing stories of your son, because I think Brady was as much of this team as any of us. And Charles, our musician, I wanted to thank you for sharing your special talents with us today, too. And Mary and Medfield Outreach and Medfield Cares about prevention. I want everybody here to know how incredibly fortunate Medfield is to have you working in our community. And ask how many of you would have raised your hand for months of work not knowing what you were going to do. And Mary, you just said yes. And for that, I'm just so grateful. You stepped out of your comfort zone and you just trusted in a process and you trusted in people. And that was incredible. And Thursday, when we were here putting on these final touches, and we looked at each other, and I think our eyes got wide as saucers. Like, we could not have imagined getting to this place back in March. So I hope for all of you that one of your takeaways is that you think about how through the arts people are empowered to dream together and to work together and to support each other. And our vision, the Cultural Alliance's vision for this campus, a cultural campus, is simply that we can create more opportunities to do this together. And so I invite you all to return and to gather and to start conversations and to be change makers along with us. And with that, I'll hand it to you, Mary.
Hi, everybody. So first of all, I'm going to try to keep this short because you've already listened to 3 amazing speeches this afternoon. And I want to give you an opportunity to get to the activities that are here today. So my name is Mary Haas. I am the Substance Use Prevention Coordinator for the town of Medfield. I work for Medfield Outreach. And at this point, you've already heard and witnessed for yourself the talent and creativity of this bunch, so I'm going to take some time to thank a few people. First of all, the Cultural Alliance of Medfield for bringing this together. Jean started the conversation that ended in what you see here today. Spoke for bringing the creativity and artistry to the work. Medfield Outreach for their support and belief in me and this project. And the Mass Cultural Council and the Drug-Free Communities Grant for funding a large portion of this project. I'd also like to thank the town of Medfield for the commitment that they've made to their youth by investing in a full-time substance use prevention coordinator. And that's me. So it's very clear to me that the town and its residents care. They care a lot about the youth. They care about how they feel and what they do and what their future looks like. And that's really wonderful, truly. I would be remiss if I didn't also mention how much I love my job. It's so wonderful to be able to make time to make connections, have real conversations with many people in the community, but specifically to have time to listen to the students and understand at least a little bit about what it's like to be a young person in Medfield. You know, that's the heart of this project, and that's also what I see as the heart of prevention. You can't reduce youth substance use without first understanding what youth substance use looks like. So many people say that the opposite of addiction is connection, and I believe that to be true. So what we did here today is the epitome of that. This is prevention at its finest. Look at all these people. All of this collaboration and coordination and care and connection that has happened just in the creation of this space, let alone this celebration right now. Look around you at all the people that are here now. Hi, Mom. My family is here too. We're all here to celebrate the students and really take some time to spend time together in this beautiful place. So I'm really grateful to all of you for showing your support by being here today. And there are a few people who also couldn't be here that I wanted to just mention. So Kathy Mcdonald, who's the director of Medfield Outreach, unfortunately she's out of the state this weekend, and she was really disappointed to not be here and to miss this opening. But trust me, I'm going to bring her here on Monday, and we're going to have lunch on these benches so she can really experience it. Also, Chelsea Goldstein-Walsh, who happens to also be out of the state. She's an outreach clinician at Medfield Outreach and has been cheering us on from the sidelines this whole time. So anyway, that's really all I have to say today, but if you want to come by and say hi and introduce yourself, I would love to meet you. I'll just be walking around, and now you know what I look like. And I want you to take some time to enjoy the space, feel the connection and the support as it was intended here for you. Check out those QR codes that are on the tiles in the center of the benches, and have some fun. If you want to paint a rock over there, we invite you to do that, and you can find a good spot for it here, or you can take it home if you prefer. If you leave it here, you can think of it as an investment in the space. You know, this isn't our space, this is all of our space, and we want you to feel that. So leave your mark if you feel moved. There's also some sidewalk chalk if you're not too into permanence. You can just draw a little bit. And I don't know, we really appreciate you all showing up today. It means a lot to have you here. Time is really valuable, and so spending your time with us really meaningful. So thank you all so much. Enjoy yourself and good work, everybody.